What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Icon. We on 95 South Podcast once again. Excuse me. First and foremost, I want to thank God for this opportunity to be able to be on this platform, to have great guests, great conversation, and to be able to inform people and enlighten people, educate people. Secondly, I want to introduce my right hand man, your baby mama's favorite host. You know what I'm saying? The man to get everything done. My man King Jacob in the building. What's going on, fam?
Man, blessing to be on this side of the dirt, man. Glad to be in the land of the living. Each day we wake up, we got a chance and a choice. So, we got another star-studded episode with a definitely with a brother that wears many hats, just to say the least.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So go ahead and introduce this young man so we can get this thing popping.
All right, great. So, ladies and gentlemen, all the audience and people that support us, we have another special guest tonight, Slow Chemical, and cultural rap artist, book writer, uh, uh, indie film producer, and let's welcome him as he gets into his story with us and takes us along his journey. What's up, my brother? How you doing?
I'm great. I'm honored to be on. That intro's fire, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, man, when people want to know who is Slow Chemical, like how do you present that to people when they want to know? Because you wear so many hats.
That's a good question. I just said, hey, I'm a musician, I'm a comic book creator, and I'm just someone trying to leave a legacy in this world. And I leave it at that.
Okay. So, when did the journey start for you?
When did the journey start, or when did I start getting serious about the journey?
Both. How about both?
So I've been writing
Excuse me.
pretty much my entire life. When I started taking it serious was when I was in college, and I met up with my advisor, and she said, I want to read some of your writing, because she felt I was in the wrong major, and I was in psychology at the time. And she said, I think you're in the wrong major. And so I said, okay. So I sent her some of my writing, and she said, you need to be in creative writing. You're a writer. You're meant to be a writer. And by that time, it was kind of too late. I was a semester away from graduating with my bachelor's in psychology, so I didn't want to start all the way over. So I finished that, and then I went back to school for creative writing. But that's when I started taking it serious, because she was the first person to not only read my writing, but it was one of those things where she literally took my lyrics, my hip hop lyrics, and was like, you see how you did this and this? These are metaphors. Like at the time, I've been writing for so long, I didn't really know what a metaphor was. That was doing it. Excuse me. And so she's like, these are very clever metaphors. Like, not many people write this way. Like, you were meant to be a writer. I could see why you're bored in psychology classes, because your psychology is differently. And that's when I just started taking it seriously. That's when I started trying to get into comic books, and that's when I started really even taking my music seriously.
Okay. So, her, giving you that motivation and just elaborating your membrane to that creative space of writing and moving people with the way you write. So upon that, man, how was your very first studio session? How did you get into comic books, and what made you want to become an indie producer? Because, like I said, you wear many hats, man, and you do so much. So your story piques my interest.
So my first studio session, me and my brother were rapping on a karaoke machine at the time, And I remember we were just doing, tapes or whatever. But then I had met someone at a job I was working at. He said, I know this dope. I was living in Maryland at the time. He said, I know this dope producer. You need to meet him. I've done all my studio sessions with him. You need to meet him. So, okay. And so he gave me his information. So I called him up. His name is Jim Star Pro. He's out Silver Spring, Maryland. And so me and my brother went together. And at the time, I was not seasoned at all. Never recorded any music for real, or except recording a karaoke machine. Met up with Jim Star Pro, and honestly, I was created in his basement. I was the T2 that was created in his basement. He taught me how to count bars. He helped me with my creativity because there were so many things I wanted to do, and I'm into so many different genres of music, not just hip hop. He was one of the first people. Even my own brother like would play me to where he was like, no, just only do this. This is hip hop. But Jim Star was like, nah, man, we're gonna do it this way. Let's try your way. Let at least hear it, And he helped formulate what is now who I am, because he did, as a producer himself, he didn't have a style. He could do a Southern beat the same way he could do a New York beat. So me and him were kind of a match made in heaven, with there as far as the music goes. As far as the comic books go, I just met up with my advisor again, told her what I wanted to do. She introduced me to my first comic book partner, and we put together our first comic book. And we published it. It wasn't very good, but I was still proud of it because based off of that, we got invited to our first Comic-Con in Indianapolis. So even with us not being too good, we still got invited to a Comic-Con. So that just was something to build off of. And I remember during my first panel, I think we had like 10 people in there. And I looked at my business partner at the time and said, man, we're going to have a full room one day. We're definitely going to do it. And me being in that, I had never been to a Comic-Con before. I've always been into comic books, but never been to one before. And me being in that atmosphere, that made me know, okay, I want to do this some more, as far as the producer thing, everything I've had to do as far as even producing music, I did it because I couldn't find anyone else to do it. And what I mean by that is everyone wants to be paid for their talent, but no one wants to actually use their talent. I would meet a ton of producers and they would say, hey, I got this beat. Cool. It's $800. And they're like, okay, so are you going to actually like produce me, or are you just selling me this beat? No, I'm producing you. No, it's not producing. That's just selling a beat. And I got tired dealing with people like that. So me wearing so many different hats just came by accident. Like when I was doing my own indie films, that came because a cameraman wanted me to pay him a certain amount of money, and he only wanted to put in 2 hours of time. And I was like, yeah, it's not going to work for me, man. You know that it takes more than 2 hours to do this. So I just started doing things on my own just to make sure that I got done.
So let me get this straight, man. You have always been a creative mind. And with you being that creative mind, it took people to try to just get some money, and they wasn't really putting in the work and for you to pay them that much money. So you just use that creative mind of yours and just learn everything yourself and just kill up the game yourself just by learning and teaching yourself the necessary tools that you had to learn to really become a household name. Correct?
Yeah. Also, I watch a lot of people too. Being me working on movie sets, I just watch a lot of people. I never. What helped me was I also interned on movie sets, so I was able to do grip. I was able to do the mic. I was able to hold the camera. And I'm all for paying people. It was just I want to make this clear. It was just one of those things where like people just only wanted to do a certain amount of work for a lot of money. And so, like example, I wanted to pay this one dude to film because he's a dope videographer, cinematographer. I wanted to pay this guy to film my my proof of concept indie show, right? So I had offered him a certain amount of money. I was gonna fly him out to California, put him in his own hotel, all this type of stuff. And legitimately he came back at me with a $200,000 number. I said, $200,000? Like, you just got out of school. Like, how you getting $200,000 from what? That makes no sense to me. And it just confused me. And so I was like, okay, maybe at the time I didn't know the game very well. So I said, maybe I'm out of my league. Maybe I'm wrong. And then I ended up going to a bunch of indie film festivals, and I was like, am I in the wrong here? Like no one's getting paid $200,000 to do an indie like video. I said that he was being ridiculous. So I do go out my way to ask questions to people in case I'm being unrealistic, you know. But also at the same time, a lot of times, man, people don't realize this, and you can do a lot of this stuff yourself. Will it be as good as the next person? Probably not. But you can get it to where you need to go. And because I have a dope editor, actually, it looks better than when I shot it because he edited it very well. There are people who want to work. You just gotta look for them, man. So, but I'm all for people paying people. It just has to make sense, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And so, what's funny is, and like you said, Jim Star Pro. What?
Mm-hmm.
He worked with Jim Star Pro. So I'm from South Carolina, but I lived in the DMV for 12 years.
Nice.
You know? So I've traveled all through DC and Virginia and Maryland. And when you say Jim Star Pro, man, I'm like, wow. This man worked with Jim Star Pro. And for those who you don't know about Jim Star Pro, man, he's like how they say Kanye is geniusness when it comes to his producing. Like how you say Timberland is geniusness. Jim Star Pro is one of those creative dudes that, whether it's rock, whether it's Southern soul, whether it's jazz, blues, hip hop, country, bluegrass, he can just get you the sound that you need. That's a custom sound to fit your voice, to make people understand that your voice is a tool. But the production kind of coexist with that tool and just get you to reel in that target market audience. So when you say his name, bro, I definitely understand who you're talking about, what type of dude he is, and what a dope producer that is. So salute to you for working with him. Now, what's interesting to me is I don't hear many, should I say, black and brown people talk about this. A Comic-Con, live panel discussion, you know, all these content creators when they come to comic books and everything, man. So how was that experience for you, man? Like, I just want to know about that experience and what you experienced, you know, the very first time that you was there.
It was great. It was overwhelming. It was seeing people be who they want to be. It was seeing, if you want to dress up as Harley Quinn, you can dress up as Harley Quinn. If you want to dress up as whoever, you can. And just the level of freedom, seeing that around I know people call it nerd culture now, air quotes. But just seeing people just be who they want to be and being comfortable with that and feeling in a safe place. And like I said, I've always been into comic books. I just, you know, growing up, we didn't have the money to do that type of stuff. So me going for my first time, it was overwhelming, but it was great. And it's one of those things where what I did was that first day I got there, because I got there the day before my panel, and I'd never done a panel before, not much of a live speech person. So I legit went to a bunch of other panels just to see how they handled everything, to see how they felt out the room, and just kind of look to see some of their mannerisms. And that's kind of why that's why I've always taken. If I ever do a panel, I always go there and I try to feel the rooms out first to see what is gonna be. Because sometimes there's panels where I'm not even talking about my stuff. You know, sometimes there's panels where we're just talking about the world of comic books at that moment, right? And then there's sometimes where it's just nothing but my stuff. Like, how did you get this idea, that idea? And as a creator, I don't always remember how I come up with all this stuff, man. A lot of times it's just so random. I could be off doing something, or I could be in the car, and it's just there, you know. And going back to Jim Star Pro real quick, that's what made our connection so special, because him and I could come to him with a chorus, right? As a matter of fact, my upcoming album, my debut album, he's the executive producer on it. I will have a chorus in my mind, and I'll say, hey, man, I can't make a beat to this. I just don't have anything. He will put something to it, right? I can't explain those moments to people. I try to tell people, when you're in a creative space, you have to let the creative situations just flow. and don't force it. If something's coming, just let it all come to you. But that's how I did with my first con feature. Was I just let everything come to me. It was super weird to have my like someone asked for my autograph for the first time. I was like, that never happened before. That was cool, and just seeing the excitement that people had, man, that's a great feeling. I can see how people can get addicted to that feeling. It's a great feeling.
Okay. So, man, tell me about your indie films, man, and how do you do your casting, and what type of creative spaces when it comes to the acting realm, and what type of monologues do you receive as far as when people are trying to audition for you or come to your casting calls. So how does that work for you? How was that first experience when you did your very first casting call?
Oh, it was awful. I didn't know what I was doing. It was terrible. I didn't really cast very well. At the time, I was using Facebook and just put out a call on a particular group I was in. And I wasn't prepared for the amount of people that just would blow up your phone, your messages, your inboxes. And I didn't do my research well at the time because I was casting for Late Justice, which is a short film based off my comic book. And so I already had my two main characters. I had them before because we were already working on some other stuff. So I had that, but I needed like the other characters, but I truly did not like understand the time you have to put in, the research you have to put in. And so my first experience was awful because I wasted so much money on talent that I never used. The font of the outside the two main characters, the final, like when you see the two women that you have in that Late Justice film, those were like my very last round of casting calls. And they just happened to come to me because we were working on some other stuff with another mutual acquaintance. And I just so happened to meet them, and I told them what I was doing, and they kind of was like, hey, I would love to help you with this. Tell me what I can do. And I said, okay. And I just happened to work with them. The second time was a lot better. I did my research. I actually reached out to myself, to the people I wanted. And when they said, and they just so happened to have said yes, and then we went forward. But the first time I didn't know what I was doing. And that taught me a very valuable lesson. If I'm going to dip my hat into this, or my toe into this water, do your research first.
Okay. That's what's up. Icon?
All right, so bro, first and foremost, before we move on to questions, shout out to our affiliates, Village Global Network, She Real Radio, 8 Pen Studios, our 8 radio stations, our 146 countries. We just picked up 2 more countries over the past 30 days, so we up to 146 countries worldwide at this point. And also, shout out to and if you want to book us, 95 South Podcast at gmail.com. That's where you can book us at or do interviews. And follow us on 910 Sports at Entertainment Network, just like I'm saying it. 910 Sports and Entertainment Network, spelled all the way out. That's on YouTube. So anyway, bro, so what you was going back to what you were saying about the production, and it's funny you said that because I remember this producer back in the day when I stayed in Florida, and this cat, man, he was up and coming beat maker, and I remember he always used to try to sell his beats for like $400 or $500, $300. And we would always try to encourage him, man, give a few beats out. You know what I mean? Like, because the thing I tell artists is what you want to, or tell producers is what you want to do is, or artists, get with your producer and a beat maker, like let's say like a Zaytoven got with Gucci, Irv Gotti groomed Ja Rule, Timbaland with Missy, you know what I'm saying? Dr. Dre with Snoop Dogg. So you want to be able to get with another artist, and you never know, that be the artist that you blow with and then you take off with, you know what I'm saying, and get your beats out there. Because think about a producer and a beat maker, especially a beat maker, once they get that one hit, it's over with. You know what I'm saying? They take off like look at I know a lot of people may not know who he is, ATL, Mr. ATL something ATL, Young Cat. He does all Future's beats. You know what I'm saying? ATL Jacob. ATL Jacob does all Future's beats. And he blew up off of a couple of joints off some mixtapes, and now he out of here. And that's basically kind of how it works with a beat maker and producer. So you out here trying to charge somebody $5,000, $10,000, $100,000, and nobody knows your name is ridiculous, like you were saying. And even if you're a filmmaker or somebody that shoots videos, make you a couple of videos for free. Sometimes you got to sacrifice. Sometimes you got to put in that work, just like a comedian being in a nightclub who maybe, have to, there's been comedians out here who was comedians for 5, 6 years when it was eating out, was making, or basically their money at the end of the night was chicken wings and beer. Ask Bernie Mac, ask Ricky Smiley, ask Kevin Hart. I'm saying all these people had to put in work. So this sense of entitlement to think that somebody's supposed to pay you just because you do something doesn't mean you do it well, and doesn't mean they can't go to somebody else. And like you said, the biggest thing I learned in this business is when you can't find somebody to do something for you, or somebody drop the ball and you put your back against the wall to have to do it yourself, then just do it yourself. You know what I'm saying? And then you'll be amazed what you find out you can do. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. But you from New Orleans, and you not migrated from New Orleans to Colorado. Now, first and foremost, I don't know if people told you this before, but as soon as I hear New Orleans, I'm looking for that New Orleans accent. I'm looking for that New Orleans swag. I'm looking for all of that. And I'm like, well, dang, I would have pictured him anywhere, saying he's from anywhere else but New Orleans. So what caused you to end up not kind of being that same look, style, whatever that always comes from New Orleans?
So I used to have a really thick accent, and I used to not be able to talk. I used to have a really bad stutter. And what you're hearing now is many years of speech therapy and me having to slow my talking down so people can understand me. Because when I was younger, you could not understand me. And also, I got to be so quiet just because there's always people around me that were so loud. I just didn't like it. I'm like, why do we always need the attention around us? Like, I just don't like it, man. I really don't like. If we all go to the club together or somewhere together, I'm gonna be the one in the corner just chilling, man. I want to have a good time. I don't need the attention. If the attention comes, that's cool. But I just was around so many loud people. I still am. I'm not gonna lie. I still am. But I'm always just a quiet one. I just want the attention, man. So yeah, you're not the first person, and you're sure enough not gonna be the last person to tell me that. I dated this one young lady, and she said, I dated 2 guys from Louisiana. You are by far the quietest person I've ever met in Louisiana, from Louisiana. So yeah, it's probably gonna, that's not gonna change. It came out of necessity, man. Too many loud people around, man.
Okay, so you moved to Colorado. What part of Colorado are you in?
Oh, I'm not even in Colorado no more. So I've lived all over. So I moved from Louisiana to Maryland. I was in DC for a while, which he'll tell you that's 30 minutes from Maryland, 30 minutes from Baltimore. I've lived in Colorado. I'm in Tennessee currently.
Okay. Reason why I asked that because I've been to all 48 states, or 40 out of the 50 states, except for Alaska and Hawaii, if you really want to consider those part of the United States. But I've been to all the other 48 states probably 10 times over. So I know I've seen all cultures, all walks of life, every nook and cranny of America. And so living in those, especially, let's start with Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, we know, is a huge culture difference from New Orleans. So living there, what was your experience in Colorado?
It was interesting. It was the only place I've ever lived at where everything was it's a big town, but small town flavor. Like, you're going to see the same people every day, even if you're in a different part. But it's funny because it's also the most segregated I've ever been. Like, if you want Black food, you go to Aurora. You know where to go for that. You want Spanish food, you go to West Evans. You want to go to a chain restaurant that's something, you go to Littleton, Colorado. You want to go to military area, you go to Colorado Springs. Like, you just know where to go and everything like that. So it was by far the most segregated where I've ever seen, where some people just don't leave their area, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting because the people that love it there. The people that hate it there, they absolutely hate it there. It wasn't for me. The weather, I just couldn't do it, man. Like, it snows 11 months of the year, you know, and so that wasn't for me. And plus, people in the snow, somehow they're safer drivers in the summertime when there's no rush. They get snow. They're like, man, I think I can beat the snow in 2 minutes, even though my drive's 30 minutes. And they just get crazy in the snow, man. I can't do it.
Yeah, so crazy part, true story. About 5 years ago, I went to Colorado for the very first time. It was June. I was driving the truck, decided to pull over at a gas station in about 2-3 o'clock in the morning to get some rest. And I realized how cold all night the truck was. So I'm just thinking, maybe it's a cool night. I'm just like, well, maybe it's, I don't really know Colorado's weather, so I wasn't thinking nothing of it. I remember waking up by 6-7 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was, outside. And I looked over and I seen the mountains, and I said, "Is that snow?" And I'm like, "Hold on, how long was I asleep? Like, did I sleep till the whole summer?" So it threw me off. I had to take pictures, and I'm on Facebook Live, and I'm like, "Do y'all see this?" Like, it was the most incredibly weirdest thing that I ever been through for me to see snow in the middle of June. Because I heard about stuff like this, but I never thought I would ever see it in person. So that was my crazy story about Colorado.
Say what?
Huh?
Say
What's
what?
that? Yeah, it was snow.
Did you say June? Did you say June?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was June. It was snow.
As
It
in
was snow.
summertime sundresses, booty shorts, June?
Yes, yes. Slow chemical know what I'm talking about.
It snows 11 months of the year. The only time it doesn't snow when I was living there was in August. And that's because August is usually just burning hot. Every other time, it's fair game. It's snowing all the time.
Why do people want to live?
I don't.
I
They
say,
love it there, man.
They-
slow chemical. I can't live in a place where seasons don't change.
and he's
That
right.
would
He's right.
drive me up the wall.
I'm gonna tell you like this. Tell you one other thing before we get all the way back into it. I was in Denver, Colorado, probably like January, February, and it was snowing. I'm talking about coming down profusely. You could tell they probably about to get 2-3 inches of snow, if not more. So I go from Colorado Springs to, I forgot what city it was, but it was maybe been like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I want to say going west, but I forgot the city. But I remember whatever it was. I remember being bundled up in the truck, like all wrapped up, thinking as soon as I get to my hotel room, I'm gonna have to, be ready for the cold. I get out and it's like warm, like basically like hot dang near. And I was like, what? I'm like, what just happened? And I remember going to the hotel and they telling me this part of Colorado doesn't snow, doesn't really it has regular seasons, whatever. And I'm like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm only like 2 hours away from where I just came from. And you telling me that is that big a difference in weather? And it's, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, Colorado is kind of weird when it comes to segregation and the way to like they have this one gas station. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called is it come something whatever. But it's one gas station. It's like a chain gas station, and like maybe one little restaurant on each thing, like off of each exit, and that's it. So you have to really search for food. You know what I mean? It's weird. But anyway, so living in like DC, Maryland area, did you take the sound? Because we know they known for the go-go sound.
Mm,
They have a signature sound in the DC,
they
Maryland.
do.
So part of your music, do you take any of that as far as with your New Orleans? Because the New Orleans music and the go-go music, you can kind of put it together
Sure.
and you can make it sound similar. You know what I mean? Or whatever. So do you use that, or you kind of sway away completely from that and have a whole different type of sound?
No, I take anything I can, honestly, and that's just being under Jim Star Pro. Like legit, it's one of those things where when I work with him specifically, he had taught me how even if it's nothing wrong with putting a bunch of stuff in the pot and seeing how it comes out, right? So to me personally, I've used rock elements, go-go elements. Um, I've used a lot of southern elements as well, and I've mixed a lot of the stuff in. So yeah, I'm always open to that for sure. But yes, you're right. Their sound is that Baltimore. The house music, that's Baltimore, and the go-go music is definitely DC. Like they're undeniable. That's their sounds.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
One other thing before I take a sit back, my brother. When it comes to the comic book stuff,
Mm-hmm.
basically, where do you take your inspiration from, or you, what kind of, I guess, kind of shapes what you're doing with your comic book, and what are you going for when it comes to your comics, and what are you trying to get out of it? And when because most comics, most superheroes, they almost educational to a certain degree, or they almost like to the point where you can get something out of it to inspire a child. And that's why I think as adults, people still gravitate to it because they know they gotten something out of it, even from being a child all the way through an adult. So with your comics, you know what I'm saying, what are you getting out of it that it inspire you? Because even when I used to watch Good Times, them comics that he was doing was, them paintings that JJ was doing was inspiring. So what are you trying to get out of yours?
So that's a really good question, actually. So there are some comics where I want it to be pure entertainment. I want you just to read it, and if you're into superheroes, enjoy it. There's other ones where I legit just want you to laugh. I want you just to. I think we all need a release. I think the stress troubles of the world can get to us, and if I can take your mind off it by you just reading a 20-page comic for 10, 15 minutes, however long it takes you to read it, I just want you to kind of look at it and say, "Oh man, this person's ridiculous, man." And just chuckle a little bit, laugh about some stuff. And then there's some other ones where I do want you to take a message from it. Whatever you take from it, it doesn't matter what I had intended for it to be. I want you to take whatever it is you take from it, because I feel like that's also what it makes entertainment so powerful. Sometimes when you're creating something, there's been times I've rapped some stuff, I meant something completely different about it, and someone comes to me and say, I felt that line you said, and they would come at a completely different way that I never even thought of. So a lot of times with my comics, there's an intention of mine. Like I have a comedy comic book called Inspecting Realities that's for adults, and that's just strictly pure chaos. I just want people to read it and say, okay, he had been through some stuff. I went through that with my homies. That's funny, And then you have my Messina comic book hero, superhero. I want you just to be entertained by that. And then I have a comic book called Meme Generation, where it's for everybody, where it's just I want you be able to pick it up and just like that's like a nice little Ocean's 11 type heist type thing. And I want you to be able to say, "Oh man, that's funny," or "That was pretty creative." So so there's different meanings behind each comic book, but yeah, for the most part, I want you just to take your mind off the world's problems for a minute, and then they'll be there. Just take your mind off the problems, and hopefully it can entertain you for a little bit.
Okay, go ahead, Jacob.
Now, when you're writing a strip, and you're in your creative space while you're writing a strip, what elevates you to write something different from what you would normally see on television now?
I'm different. My experiences are different. Like when I say that, I've opened myself up in my personal life to doing things that most people wouldn't be comfortable with doing. Not to be too graphic on here, but like I had an ex-girlfriend of mine who wanted to be in an open relationship. Never been in an open relationship before. Not gonna lie to you guys, didn't really like her anyway. I was just there because I was lonely. So why not? Let's try it. And that opened up different avenues to different things where I'm meeting different people who are just living a certain life that I'm now fascinated by. To get myself through college, I worked in strip clubs. which is a whole different world. There's some things there that are not even graphic. I remember, I'll just tell this quick story or one thing. Something I found fascinating. I worked in the middle of the hood in Colorado in a strip club, and it always fascinated me how would have rich Caucasian men come in. Like, this is the hood. Like when you come in, people is drawing guns, right? And I asked this one dude, I said, "Why are you risking this?" Because I knew this dude. He had bread. He was like, "Man, let me tell you something. I grew up with racist parents. I could never be around black people. When I got to college, I realized I love every culture. And in particular, I love black women." He's like, "This is the only time I can meet up with black women." That was fascinating. It blew my mind. This dude has all this money and can't even live the life he wants to live. So I tend to write based on the stuff I hear like that. Like my comic book, Geneva Convention, was about sex trafficking because I actually have met someone who was a sex traffic victim. So like me talking to her and just her telling me her story, I was like fascinated by it. I was like, wow, like I don't think people are talking about these things, and when they do talk about them, it's more of the wink and the nod type of thing. I like to just you don't have to throw everything in people's faces, but some things it's like, no, this is what the conversation is. So either you want to have the conversation or you don't.
Okay, and so what's so interesting about what you just said about sex trafficking? I remember, a few years ago, I used to work with a nonprofit, Unique Blessings, out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and they fought against sex trafficking and human trafficking and sexual abuse, mental abuse, and domestic violence, man. And I learned so much from them, because I grew up in a 2-parent household, and parents were married for 40 years when my pop passed. So I never seen that. I never knew about domestic violence until I went off to college. I'm like, what? Who hits a woman? Like, what? Who does that? And obviously, it happens a lot. You know what I mean? And so, and I had no clue that a person will poke their chest out and call themselves a man, and and you just whoop this woman ass so badly to like her own kids don't recognize her. You know what I mean? And so it's funny you said that about the young lady that experienced that, man. And I just look now with the human trafficking and sex trafficking. It's $1 billion business now, and so to traffic a human all the way across the country and even out of the country, and to make money off of that, man. This world is cruel, it's crazy, man. And so I say this to say that from your expertise and your creativity of writing, you write from a different space. I feel like you write from a third party space. Let me give you a full eyes view on what I have been explained to by the person that had these experiences. So let me be on the outside looking in and write it so my audience can understand it. And so I can reel the audience in so they'll want more. And so I can appreciate that from your creative side.
No, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, and I was exposed to a little bit more growing up in a single parent home, and I knew all this stuff happened. The thing that really intrigued me more about the sex trafficking thing was I had been hearing more and more about it from a friend who is a social worker, and because it's her job, she didn't really like going into detail about things. It was really hard on her. She ended up quitting the field because of it. But I remember I was driving Uber, and it was so random because I picked this young lady up from Hartsfield Jackson in Atlanta, and her drive was like an hour away. And I remember I looked in the rear view, she was just smiling. She's like, "Can I roll the window down?" I was like, "Yeah." And I finally said, "What are you so happy about? Like, give me some of your happiness." And for that next hour, it was an education. It was sad. She had been sex trafficked from Egypt. So
Wow.
it was very sad, but it was good to see how free she felt, how happy she was. Like That smile never left her face, even while telling her story. That made me just look at things so different. I was like, oh wow, you're grateful just to be free and alive. Like, okay. And I just let her talk, and we exchanged numbers at the end of it. And when I started writing that comic book, I said, hey, do you mind if I use some of these experiences? And she's like, no, I don't care. It's like, the more people know it, the better. As you said, it's $1 billion conglomerate, you know. And she's like, someone needs to put into it, you know. But we talked to this day, and she's still doing fantastic, you know. And I'm happy for her. And so it's one of those things where, yeah, I do like to speak from that third party, because, like I said, me learning stuff like that is other people should know.
Okay, so from a writer's standpoint of view, and say you're writing a film. So I always had this film in my head, and you know, I got the bros on this podcast, and so you know, I would like to get with somebody and work on a film and entitle the film, "What Do Women Really Want from a Man?" Because it seems to me that they're very confused. Because you can't say that every man is a dog, and you only experienced the men that you've experienced. So, what leads you to say something like that? First of all, you sound like you need some healing. Second of all, you sound very delusional. And third of all, if you keep yourself in that space of thinking that you don't need a man for anything, then you know you're going to be a lost soul for a very long time. And so, from that perspective, when it comes to how I think about it, what do women really want from a man? And I think that would be a great TV series, not just a movie, but a TV series with like 7, 8, 9 seasons. So, give me your thoughts on that, and you too, Icon. I want to hear what you think too.
Oh man, you're trying to get in trouble here. First of all, that concept can go so many different ways. One, two, if I were to write a series like that, I would want to write it with a female, because I would want that perspective of, because a lot of times when I find myself talking to women, I don't have many friends, but I will say 3 of my closest friends are women, and I find that when we have conversations, I learn something from it, and I know they learn something from me. And it's one of those things where, I feel like that lacks, once, just my opinion, for the female fans that are your show, don't kill them or me, but I feel like those teachings can get lost once it turns romantic. I feel like once it turns romantic, it just, something triggers in not just women's brains, our brains too as men, and makes us act differently. And I feel like even the conversations I've had with my close female friends, there's nothing ever with me or them at all. But I feel like, and I said this to them, if anything was to happen, I think we would lose some of those teachings that we have taught each other, because something just triggers in our brain once things turn romantic. We just get emotional, all of us.
Icon.
Well, it's funny you said that, because remember we talked earlier about the concept we have for this new podcast. And basically you could start off your movie with that, where basically you have it where we're in that podcast, or we're in a radio set, and the women are telling their stories about the relationship past and how they would want that relationship to look in the future. The mistakes that the man made, that they felt like he could have done better. And you just basically a storyline of having women in different types of relationships, where you have your abusive one, where you have the one that's real good, where you have the one that's kind of in between. And show what a man does to get better, or what a man is doing to um try to do right by that woman, to show, so the woman is kind of teaching him what she wants. But it's funny that you say all that, because I remember in church, and it was kind of confirmation to me. I was in I think it was at church. I was in something the other day, somewhere the other day, and I remember, I think it was church. And I remember the pastor saying, the problem with women is the women give the man the blueprint, and meaning that when a woman wants a man to do certain things, especially like on social media, she tells him everything that she wants, but at the same time, it creates predators. So meaning a man, if you say, let's just say something simple. I love chocolate ice cream. So a man, every time he sees you, he's gonna bring you chocolate ice cream. If I love a man to say, to talk about my hair, or whatever, then you're gonna say something about her hair. I want a man to bring me flowers every time. So in other words, a man is gonna do everything you want him to do, and he's never gonna show you the opposite of who he really is until he already has you where he wants you. So in other words, even when you want the man to find out what a real woman really wants, the woman has to make the man kind of almost kind of work for it a little bit. But if you just give it to him on a silver platter every time, you're gonna get a lot of these men that's just gonna just do what he have to get in those draws or to get what he wants out the deal. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be kind of methodical on that and in that, but a man has to want to know who you are. See, that's the thing about it is women have to get with men to kind of want to know who they are and not just. That's why I tell women all the time: when you walk around here looking a certain way, we're visual people. We're visual creatures, so we see what we want first before we care about what's on the inside. You know what I'm saying? So if we all we see is boobs and cheeks, then that's what we're gonna assume that you are before we even get to know you a lot of times. But because you could be a beautiful woman and still be covered up, and we're gonna still think you're a beautiful woman. But a lot of women don't get that part. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where, but that's kind of where I would go with the movie. You know what I mean? To take it from a place of a podcast or a radio, because that's the kind of world we in anyway, where everybody gets all that information from social media, podcasts, and radio anyway.
Okay. Interesting, man. So I just, in my head, I just thought that would have been, I think that'd be a great TV series, man. And you know, I just think from a level that people gonna want more and more and more, man, because it's something that people go through daily. It's something that I hear women, they always trying to figure it out, and but the thing of trying to figure it out, they will ask their friends, they ask their mother, but they never ask him. He's the one you with, so why wouldn't you ask him? Why wouldn't you have an in-depth conversation with him instead of walk around with that malice in your heart and you so mad you can fry a dozen of eggs on your forehead and you talk to everybody else about him, but you never sit down and talk to him about it. And so this is a person that's laying beside you every night. This is a person that you're giving your jewels to, but you don't ask him any questions to get a better understanding. So why do y'all think that is?
Well, go ahead, Slow.
So I've asked this question to a couple of women. The answer I have gotten has been, I think, an honest answer. Scared of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah, they're scared of the truth.
They don't want to. Women don't want to know. They want to know that want the answer they want to hear. They don't want to know the real answer, because if a man, see, think about it. The man who gave them the realest answer on earth was Kevin Samuels, and women was wishing this man dead. They were glad this man was dead because he gave his honest opinion. Whether you agree with it or not, some of the stuff that Kevin Samuels was very truthful. A man who's got $1 million in the bank or moving around trying to get to his ultimate goal in life is not trying to be with a woman with 5 kids. Most of them are not. That's just the honest truth, but women didn't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of men, they might sleep, not to be funny. A lot of men may sleep with a plus size woman, but when they go out to a party, a business party, or be around their friends, they're gonna take that eye candy with them. That's what they want to be seen with. That's the honest to goodness truth. Especially if he's that kind of what they call it. What do you call it? What kind of man he called him? I forgot what terminology he used, but whatever terminology he used, that type of man, or whatever, that's pretty much made it and got his own thing, got it. And that's the thing. The funny thing about it is, a woman wants a man who has the big car, the big house, all the money in the world, but the stuff that comes with they have to bring to the table that he may be looking for, then it's like, oh, what do you want me to have? I shouldn't have to have nothing. I should be able to come as I am. But that's not real. That's not reality. You know what I mean? That's not reality.
What's crazy, Slow and Icon, is Charleston White and Kevin Samuels are in the same when it comes to that right there, but the delivery is different. You know, Charleston don't spare their feelings at all. You know, Kevin ain't spare their feelings either, but he was kind of more mild mannerable with it. But Charleston just belligerent and loud with it. You know, he was like you got some men that whoop a woman behind, and you got some man that ain't gonna dare touch a woman. They'll just pack their stuff and leave. And you got some men that believe that I'm a king. I wasn't created for one woman, and you got one man that say, well, if I pay attention to her enough, and I'm in debt with her enough, then I don't have time for another woman. So you have different men from different perspectives, but what Charles White asked him, like, who piques your interest, and why does he pique your interest, and how long can he pique your interest? That's a question for you. So but see, people don't think about it on, you know, that perspective. And so last but not least, man, I just want to say to you, my brother Slow, we all on this podcast of creative brothers and have creative spaces, and you know, from you being a writer standpoint, man, listen, it ain't nothing like this on TV. You know, as far as that title that's in my head, or you know, or then, you know, you got some men that I heard a fella tell me, they say, man, Jacob, this generation of woman, boy, they have they boobs out, man, like like black people eat fried chicken, like they just got they boobs out all the time, man, like you can't turn nowhere. He was like, man, I know this chick is 70 years old and she got her boobs out like that, man. Like, what's wrong with her? You know, the you know, the kids at school, that's your grandmama, we see her. Like, what? I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying, man.
Black, hey, that comment like black people eat fried chicken.
No, and I will say this to piggyback on something Icons has said. I am a single guy, never been married, never been divorced, no kids. I do not want to date a woman with 5 kids. And I've had that conversation with women with 5 kids where she'll come at me with well, just so you know, when we go out, I expect this, this, and this. I expect to be taken to the finest restaurant, this, and this. And my first question is always, does your baby daddy, did any of your baby daddies do that for you? Why are you putting that on me? Why am I the one buying your kids food? Like, there are some outrageous expectations of some people. I'm not saying everybody, but I've had those conversations when women have approached me and they're like, well, just because you're single doesn't mean you're the best thing. I didn't say I was, but I also don't have any expectations of you. I don't expect you to be 100 pounds with blue eyes. I'll take you for who you are, but you're asking me to take you to the finest restaurant and twirl you around and all this other type of stuff. And these are things you didn't experience when you were just giving it up 5 different times to some loser. And now you're putting that on me. So no, I can agree with that. I've had those conversations and it's never fun, you know, when you have them, but sometimes in the moment I'm never trying to be mean either. It's just one of those things where once I see where the conversation is going, I nip it in the bud and say, hey, that's not the route I would like to take. I can take you on a date, but like you're expecting all these things, like that's probably not going to happen. At least it's not going to happen for me.
You know, it's funny. It's funny you said. I think it's on like I think like TikTok. You might see it on YouTube, other things, Facebook, whatever. Where they do this like this prank thing, where this guy he'll pull up in a Ferrari or a nice car and he'll park it.
I think that.
Car, he'll be talking to the girl like he came out of McDonald's or something working, and then the girl be like, I don't got time, and then he'll jump back in the car and then she come run over there and try to talk to him. And I remember this one guy, the girl actually was harassing him so bad where he was like, get in the car and just talk so you won't sweat. And then he asking her like, you know, why you didn't want to talk to me when you thought I was just some regular worker. Then you seen the car. And so what, you know, you wouldn't talk to me if I was a regular guy? Nah, because I got certain expectations. But the one question he didn't ask her that I would love to would ask her, what are you doing? What is your life about for you to expect me to do certain things? Were you already doing those things for yourself? Was the last 4 or 5 guys you dated or whatever, were they doing those things for you? So why, as soon as you get to me, I have to start doing, you know what I'm saying? Any man shouldn't mind doing things for his woman, but it shouldn't be expected where we got to go to Ruth Chris every time we go out the door. You know what I mean? Sometimes, can we just go to Applebee's? You know what I mean? Or whatever. Do we got to always go somewhere? Oh, you know, can we just go to KFC today? Do we got to always go somewhere spectacular every time we walk out the door? You know what I'm saying? He fell off for a second. But while he off, I will want to ask you real quick about your name, because you got such a unique name. It's Slow Kim. Mm-hmm. So do people expect you to be a lyricist?
Is he talking?
We can't hear you, bro. We can't hear you. Can't hear you. Okay, then. Yeah. Okay, let me add him. Okay,
to answer your question, though, I don't think they know what to expect.
I don't know what just happened.
You
said they don't know what to expect?
I think people don't know what to expect. How I even got the name was I was going by the name my grandfather called me, which was DWB, Dirty White Boy. I didn't have a rap name yet. And I was searching for one. And I was driving to the studio with this rapper one time.
Hold on. Time out. You can't just fly past that.
What?
You say Dad called you Slow Dirty White Boy.
Told me Dirty White Boy, yeah.
So we need the story on that a little bit. Like you can't just say your dad call you granddad call you Dirty White Boy. You know what I'm saying? You're a black kid, so we got to know the story behind that.
So I am very, 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 very light skinned. Like my face now, it's been tanned, obviously, but if you actually look at my arms, my body, like I am very light skinned, right? So when I was younger, I was so young, I was so light when I was young, I did look white, you know. And so he called me Dirty White because I have a brother who was born 10 months before me, excuse me, and his name is Christian, and no one could tell us apart. You know, that's how we were. And so what they did was they grew my hair out, but I looked like a white kid. You know, I really did. When I look at baby pictures now, I definitely look white. So he called me Dirty White Boy. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. And so you got the name Slow Chemicals. How?
Oh yeah, because I was going to the studio with this rapper. We're driving, and I was listening to this song. It's a rock song called Slow Chemical, and so he was like, what you
call the song? Not Undertaker.
Kane.
Kane.
Yeah. So he was like, man, cut this off. I don't like rock music, but so I said, okay, cool. So we get into the studio. I'm rapping in the booth, And I see him like trying to wave me and get my attention in the main studio. So the engineer cuts the music off and he's like, "That's your name." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Man, your style is so different. It burns slow. You are the slow chemical." And
Wow.
they call me that ever since.
Wow. Okay. You got me a question, Jacob?
Nah, man, it's been spectacular, man. What a really, really dope interview, man. And I salute you, my brother. Keep doing what you're doing, man. And man, I'll be in contact with your PR. And shout out to Mr. Jonathan Coleman. Meter Blast, Blacktopia. A real dope brother that always keep me connected with his people. And definitely. Thank you for coming through, man, and thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for opening up some more, dialogue about, what you feel, about the women and stuff like that. And I just think, man, that there's definitely a need for you in the film business. You know what I'm saying? And so I look forward to seeing, what comes to full tuition for you, man, and just keep going, man. Keep going. And stay in touch. And so that's all I have, Akon.
All right, man. What you at, brother? Where people can find you, look you up, and check all your stuff out.
I appreciate coming on. It's been fun. It's been really dope. So you can check me out on IG at I Am Slow Chemical. My debut album is coming out. It's called The Uninvited Guest. That's in November. Issue 6 of Messina is coming out in October. That's called Levels. But as of right now, you can check me out on Spotify. It's under Slow Chemical. And you can check out the Civilized Savage soundtrack. Some really dope artists on there. Thanks to Jay. Jay is a blessing for sure. And we do need to stay in contact. And because that show that you have in mind, I'll say this before I go, that can come to fruition. And it can be something that can not only just last, but it can cause conversation. And it could cause conversation that some people don't want to have, but some people need to have. So I think that's very important nowadays.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming on, brother. You have a blessed night. Everybody check us out tomorrow night, 910 Sports. We'll have a special interview preview show. So definitely check us out tomorrow. And everybody have a blessed one. It's your boy Icon E, King Jacob, and we out of here.
Peace.
Got the good vibe, got the 1942 pouring in my cup. In the session, real